Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I am back with some more philosophy. Today we are going to be diving into the works of Nietzsche. This is Friedrich Nietzsche. Zarathustra's Discourses. This is Thus Spake Zarathustra. We are beginning the discourses. This is the prologue that we will be doing today. I will be reading aloud. We will be discussing as we go along, and if that format is not for you, that is perfectly fine. If you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if at any point in time I lose you in the weeds, there are various playlists that are linked there and down there that will allow you to catch up with where I might be. With that being said, let's dive in and see what's up with Zarathustra's prologue. When Zarathustra was 30 years old, he left his home and the lake of his home and went into the mountains. There he enjoyed his spirit and solitude, and for 10 years did not weary of it. But at last his heart changed, and rising one morning with the rosy dawn, he went before the sun and spake thus into it: Thou great star, what would be thy happiness if thou hadst not those for whom thou shinest? For 10 years hast thou climbed hither unto my cave. Thou wouldst have wearied of thy light and of thy journey, had it not been for me, mine eagle, and my serpent. But we awaited thee every morning, took from thee thine overflow, and blessed thee for it. Lo, I am weary of my wisdom, like the bee that hath gathered too much honey. I need hands outstretched to take it. I would fain bestow and distribute until the wise have once more become joyous in their folly, and the poor happy in their riches. Therefore I must descend into the deep, as thou dost in the evening when thou goest behind the sea, and givest light also to the nether world, thou exuberant star. Like thee I must go down, like thee must I go down, as men say, to whom I shall descend. Bless me then, thou tranquil eye. Thou canst behold even the greatest happiness without envy. Bless the cup that is about to overflow, that the water may flow golden out of it and carry everywhere the reflection of thy bliss. Lo, this cup is again going to empty itself, and Zarathustra is again going to be a man. Thus began Zarathustra's downgoing. And Zarathustra went down the mountain alone, no one meeting him. And when he entered the forest, however, there suddenly stood before him an old man who had left his holy cot to seek roots. And thus spake the old man to Zarathustra: No stranger to me is this wanderer. Many years ago passed he by. Zarathustra he was called, but he hath altered. Then thou carriest thine ashes into the mountain.
Wilt thou now carry thy fire into the valleys? Fearest thou not the incendiary's doom? Yea, I recognize Zarathustra. Pure is his eye, and no loathing lurketh about his mouth. Goeth he not along like a dancer? Altered is Zarathustra. A child hath Zarathustra become. An awakened one is Zarathustra. What wilt thou do in the land of sleepers? As in the sea
hast thou lived in solitude, and it hath borne thee up.
Alas, wilt thou now go ashore? Sorry if my voice is throwing you off. It's doing the thing. It's a little bit weak. I've already done an hour today. Alas, wilt thou again drag thy body thyself? And Zarathustra answered, I love mankind. Why, said the saint, did I go into the forest and the desert? Was it not because I loved men far too well? Now I love God. Men I do not love. Man is the thing too imperfect for me. Love to a man would be fatal to me.
And Zarathustra answered, What
Spake I of love? I am bringing gifts unto man. Give them nothing, said the saint. Take rather part of their load and carry it along with them. That will be most agreeable to them, if only it be agreeable unto thee.
If, however, thou wilt give unto them, give them no more than an alms, and let them also beg for it. No, replied Zarathustra, I give no alms. I am not poor enough for that. The saint laughed at Zarathustra and spake thus: Then see to it that they accept thy treasures. They are distrustful of anchorites and do not believe that we come with gifts. The fall of our footsteps ringeth too hollow through their streets, and just as at night, when they are in bed and hear a man abroad long before sunrise, so they ask themselves concerning us, Where goeth the thief? Go not to man, but stay in the forest. Go rather to the animals. Why not be like me, a bear amongst bears, a bird amongst birds? And what doeth the saint in the forest? Asked Zarathustra. And the saint answered, I make hymns and sing them. And in making hymns I laugh and weep and mumble. Thus do I praise God. With singing, weeping, laughing, and mumbling do I praise God, who is my God. But what dost thou bring us as a gift? And when Zarathustra had heard these words, he bowed to the saint and said, What should I have to give thee? Rather let me hurry hence, lest I take aught away from thee. And thus they parted from one another, the old man and Zarathustra, laughing like schoolboys. Then, when Zarathustra was alone, however, he said in his heart, Could it be possible? This old saint in the forest hath not yet heard of it, that God is dead? When Zarathustra arrived in the nearest town which adjoineth the forest, he found many people assembled in the marketplace, for it had been announced that a rope dancer would give a performance, and Zarathustra spake thus unto the people: I teach you the Superman. Man is something that is to be surpassed. What have ye done to surpass man? All beings hitherto have created something beyond themselves, and ye want to be the ebb of the great tide, and would rather go back to the beast than surpass man? What is the ape to man? A laughing-stock, a thing of shame? And just the same shall man be to the Superman, a laughing-stock, a thing of shame. Ye have made your way from the worm to man, and much within you is still worm. Once ye were apes, and even yet as man is more of an ape than any of the apes. Even the wisest among you is only a disharmony and hybrid of plant and phantom. But do I bid you to become phantoms or plants? Lo, I teach you the Superman. The Superman is the meaning of the earth. Let your will say, the Superman shall be the meaning of the earth. I conjure you, my brethren, remain true to the earth, and believe not those who speak to you of super-earthly hopes. Poisoners are they, whether they know it or not. Despisers of life are they, decaying ones and poisoned ones themselves, of whom the earth is weary, so away with them. Once blasphemy against God was the greatest blasphemy, but God died, and therewith also these blasphemers. To blaspheme the earth is now the dreadfulest sin, and to rate the heart of the unknowable higher than the meaning of the earth. Once the soul looked contemptuously on the body, and then that contempt was the supreme thing. The soul wished the body meager, ghastly, and famished. Thus it thought to escape from the body and the earth. Oh, that soul was itself meager, ghastly, and famished, and cruelty was the delight of that soul. But ye also, my brethren, tell me, what doth your body say about your soul? Is your soul not poverty and pollution and wretched self-complacency? Verily, a polluted stream is man. One must be a sea to receive the polluted stream without becoming impure. Lo, I teach you the Superman. He is that sea. In him can your greatest contempt be submerged. What is the greatest thing you can experience? It is the hour of great contempt, the hour in which even your happiness becomes loathsome unto you, and so also your reason and virtue. The hour when you say, What good is my happiness? It is poverty and pollution and wretched self-complacency, but my happiness should justify existence itself. The hour when you say, What good is my reason? Doth it long for knowledge as the lion for his food? It is poverty and pollution and wretched self-complacency. The hour when you say, What good is my virtue? And yet it hath not made me passionate. How weary am I of my good and my bad? It is all poverty and pollution and wretched self-complacency. The hour when you say, what good is my justice? I do not see that I am in fervor and fuel. The just, however, are fervor and fuel. The hour when you say, what good is my pity? It does not pity the cross on which he is nailed who loved man. But my pity is not a crucifixion. Have ye ever spoken thus? Have ye ever cried thus? Would that I had heard you crying thus. It is not your sin, it is your self-satisfaction that crieth unto heaven, and your very sparingness in sin crieth unto heaven. Where is the lightning to lick you with its tongue? Where is the frenzy to which you should be annihilated? Lo, I teach you the Superman. He is that lightning. He is that frenzy. When Zarathustra had thus spoken, one of the people called out, we have now heard enough of the rope dancer. It is time now for us to see him. And all the people laughed at Zarathustra, but the rope dancer, who thought the words applied to him, began his performance. Zarathustra, however, looked at the people and wondered. Then he spake thus. Man is a rope stretched between the animal and the Superman, a rope over an abyss, a dangerous crossing, a dangerous wayfaring, a dangerous looking back, a dangerous trembling and halting. What is great in man that he is a bridge and not a goal? What is lovable in man that he is an overgoing and a downgoing? I love those that know not how to live except as downgoers, for they are the overgoers. I love the great despisers, because they are the great adorers and arrows of longing for the other shore. I love those who do not first seek a reason beyond the stars for going down and being sacrifices, but sacrifice themselves to the earth, and that the earth of the Superman may hereafter arrive. I love him who liveth in order to know, and seeketh to know in order that Superman may hereafter live. Thus seeketh he his own downgoing. I love him who laboreth and inventeth, that he may build a house for the Superman, and prepare for him earth, animal, and plant. For thus seeketh he in his own downgoing. I love him who loveth his virtue, for virtue is the will to downgoing, and an arrow of longing. I love him who reserveth no share of spirit for himself, but wanteth to be wholly the spirit of his virtue. Thus walketh he as a spirit over the bridge. I love him who maketh his virtue his inclination and destiny. Thus, for the sake of his virtue, he is willing to live on or live no more. I love him who desireth not too many virtues. One virtue is more of a virtue than two, because it is more of a knot for one's destiny to cling to. I love him whose soul is lavish, who wanteth no thanks and doth not give back, for he always bestoweth and desireth not to keep for himself. I love him who is ashamed when the dice fall in his favor, and then asketh, am I a dishonest player? For he is willing to succumb. I love him who scattereth golden words in advance of his deeds, and always doeth more than he promised, for he seeketh his own downgoing. I love him who justifieth the future ones, and redeemeth the past ones, for he is willing to succumb through the present ones. I love him who chasteneth his God, because he loveth his God, for he must succumb through the wrath of his God. I love him whose soul is deep, even in the wounding, and may succumb through a small matter. Thus he go willingly over the bridge. I love him whose soul is so overfull that he forgetteth himself, and all things are in him, thus all things become his downgoing. I love him who is of a free spirit and a free heart. Thus is his head only the bowels of his heart. His heart, however, causeth his downgoing. I love all who are like heavy drops falling one by one out of the dark cloud that lowereth over man. They herald the coming of the lightning, and succumb as heralds. Lo, I am a herald of lightning, and a heavy drop out of the cloud. The lightning, however, is the Superman. When Zarathustra had spoken these words, he again looked at the people and was silent. There they stand, he said to his heart. There they laugh. They understand me not. I am not the mouth for these ears. All right, we are going to pause here and just talk about it for a minute because there's a lot of information and I didn't really feel like interrupting it. He is talking about the striving to be a better person, right? There's the death of God in this case is the death of true service to God and not the death of the deity that he is talking about. When he says that God is dead, he is talking about the active participants of faith. And while it is not completely dead, it is in large part dead. Most people who proclaim, we'll go with this, with Christianity, spend their days, go to work, they come home, they go sit on the couch and they watch absolute garbage on the television. They eat absolute garbage while they do it. They talk trash about the things that are happening on the television. They live in a perpetual state of earthiness. There is no transcendence to them. The problem, and this is where, in particular, Nietzsche got it wrong. He got to the edge of enlightenment. Just from this, I can tell that. He got to the edge of true understanding of things and he didn't cross the line. And I know that he didn't cross the line because he was still suffering from depression. Right? Anxiety is a little bit harder of a thing, but depression in particular, once you have reached enlightenment, depression can't affect you in the same way. That does not mean that you will not have a depressive moment, but you will not have a depressive state. There will be sad things that happen to you. You will bawl your eyes out, but it will no longer be the hopelessness that is depressiveness. Now, this is one of the things that I stand on that people really don't like, but most people who are depressed in our society are choosing that. They are intentionally claiming that for themselves. They are using that as the excuse not to do the things that he is telling you will help you to overcome these things. Now, he did not have the practice of this, right? He's talking about come down from your lofty position where you were on top of the mountain and go downward. This whole going down is coming down from yourself, your mind, and into the world and being the active participant in trying to change the world to better. And he did not quite get there. And the reason why, this is gonna, like, people choose depression, right? You are claiming, I want to be depressed when you go around telling everyone that you are depressed. You are claiming that for yourself. If you are truly depressed, you don't know it. Somebody else has to tell you about it. Somebody's like, hey, when's the last time you ate something? You're looking a little thin, a little bit pale. Hey, when's the last time you took a bath? Because you're starting to stink a little bit. You don't realize it yourself. And when you do, then you become responsible for it, right? Once it finally clicks into your mind that, wait, something really isn't right here. You have two choices. You can treat it or you can beat it, right? When I say that, there is a mindset flip that has to take place. You have to understand that you have already beaten it, or else you will be fighting it for the rest of your life. Once you are aware of the situation, then you can change it. When you are in a depressive state, somebody else has to tell you about it. It does not mean that your life's going to get better, right? Not like right off the bat. But if you choose, okay, this state is upon me, and sometimes you need some medical assistance to get past that point, to be able to change the synapses in your brain to something that is a little bit healthier. But once you have reached that point, you have to start choosing not to be depressed. You have to quit picking up the burdens that you have already laid down. You cannot any longer look back to the past and pick up something else. So if you were sad about a breakup and it's been 6 months, and 6 months, I understand, can be a really long time or a really short time, but say 6 months, right? And you have been in a depressive state about the ending of this relationship. And somebody finally is like, hey, when's the last time you took a bath, right? And you start realizing, okay, I'm being a little bit depressive here. You have to choose to no longer visit that on a daily basis. You don't get to go back and pick that up and ruminate on it. Be like, man, it really did me wrong. Every day for the rest of your life. That's a terrible way to live life. This bad thing happened. Learn a lesson from it and move on. Nietzsche didn't have that capacity. He was on top of the mountain. He was so disdainful of everyone around him that he wanted to stay isolated. We got that in the introduction, right? He was depressive and anxious. We saw that in the introduction, and that's what lets me know that he had not yet attained full enlightenment. Because once you have actually had the enlightenment experience, once you have lit up all the bells and whistles and activated all of the things, and all of the left-hand path is working in the proper manner, it is no longer a possibility that you are going to fall into the depressive state. The switch in your mind doesn't work that way anymore. Now, I know being on this side of it and saying these things sounds awfully pretentious, right? But I have been on the other side of it. I have tried to start a shotgun. I have lived picking up that baggage every day. And when you can change your mind to not pick up that baggage, to leave that shit back there, you get better. You deal with other people, they have their own baggage. That's not yours to pick up. You can't be an example hidden away, right? That's one of my problems, right? The internet's helping with that, but I don't really like dealing with people who don't want to be better. And what he is talking about here, most people don't want to be better. That led him into the depressive state. That's how I know he wasn't into actual enlightenment. Now, he got to the edge because some of the things that he is saying here is, okay, I am a terrible person. How can I fix that, right? That's the process that he was describing here with the down going, is him trying to fix him and then take that example down. So that was seeking the enlightenment. That was getting right to the edge of understanding all of the things and then not taking the final step. I am not the mouth for these ears. Must one first batter their eyes, that they may listen to hear with their eyes? Must one clatter like kettle drums and penitential preachers? Or do they only believe the stammerer? They have something whereof they are proud. What do they call it? That which maketh them proud? Culture, they call it. It distinguished them from the goatherds. They dislike, therefore, to hear of contempt of themselves. So I will appeal to their pride. I will speak unto them of the most contemptible thing, that, however, is the last man. And thus spake Zarathustra unto the people. It is time for man to fix his goal. It is time for man to plant the germ of his highest hope. Still is his soil rich enough for it, but that soil will one day be poor and exhausted, and no lofty tree will any longer be able to grow thereon. Alas, there cometh a time when man will no longer launch the arrow of his longing beyond man, and the string of his bow will have unlearned to whiz. I tell you, one must still have chaos in one to give birth to a dancing star. I tell ye have still chaos in you. Alas, there cometh a time when man will no longer give birth to any star. Alas, there cometh a time when of the most despicable man who can no longer despise himself. Lo, I show you the last man. What is love? What is creation? What is longing? What is a star? So asketh the last man, and blinketh. The earth hath then become small, and on it there hoppeth the last man who maketh everything small. His species is ineradicable, like that of the ground flea. The last man liveth longest. We have discovered happiness, says the last man. and blink thereby. They have left the regions where it is hard to live, for they need warmth. One still loveth one's neighbor, and rubbeth against him, for one needeth warmth. Turning ill and being distrustful, they consider sinful. They walk warily. He is a fool who stumbleth over stones or men. A little poison now and then, that maketh pleasant dreams, and much poison at last for a pleasant death. One still worketh, for work is a pastime, but one is careful lest the pastime should hurt one. One should no longer becometh poor or rich. Both are too burdensome. Who still wanteth to rule? Who still wanteth to obey? Both are too burdensome. No shepherd and one herd. Every one wanteth the same. Every one is equal. He who hath other sentiments goeth voluntarily into the madhouse. Formerly all the world is insane, say the subtlest of them, and blink thereby. They are clever, and know all that hath happened. So there is no end to their raillery. People still fall out, but are soon reconciled, otherwise it spoileth their stomachs. They have their little pleasures for the day, and their little pleasures for the night, but they have a regard for health. We have discovered happiness, say the last men, and blink thereby. And here ended the first discourse of Zarathustra, which is also called the prologue. For at this point the shouting and mirth of the multitude interrupted him. Give us this last man, O Zarathustra, they called out. Make us into these last men. Then we will make thee a present of the Superman. And all the people exulted and smacked their lips. Zarathustra, however, turned sad and said to his heart, They understand me not. I am not the mouth for these ears. Too long, perhaps, have I lived in the mountains, too much have I hearkened unto the brooks and trees. Now do I speak to them as unto the goatherds. Calm is my soul and clear like the mountains in the mornings, but they think me cold and a mocker with terrible jests. And now do they look at me and laugh, and while they laugh they hate me too. There is ice in their laughter. Then, however, something happened which made every mouth mute and every eye fixed. In the meantime, of course, the rope dancer had commenced his performance. He had come out at a little door and was going along the rope, which was stretched between two towers, so that it hung above the marketplace and the people. When he was just midway across, the little door opened once more, and a gaudily dressed fellow, like a buffoon, sprang out and went rapidly after the first one. Go on, Haltfoot, cried his frightful voice. Go on, lazy bones, interloper, sallow face, lest I tickle thee with my heel. What dost thou here between the towers? In the tower is a better place for thee. Thou shouldst be locked up. To one better than thyself, thou blockest the way. And with every word he came nearer and nearer the first one. When, however, he was but a step behind, there happened a frightful thing which made every mouth mute and every eye fixed. He uttered a yell like a devil, and jumped over the other who was in his way. The latter, however, when he thus saw his rival triumph, lost at the same time his head and his footing on the rope. He threw his pole away and shot downwards faster than it, like an eddy of arms and legs into the depth. The marketplace and the people were like the sea when the storm cometh all. They all flew apart and in disorder, especially where the body was about to fall. Zarathustra, however, remained standing, and just beside him fell the body, badly injured and disfigured, but not yet dead. After a while consciousness returned to the shattered man, and he saw Zarathustra kneeling beside him. What art thou doing here? He said at last. I knew long ago that the devil would trip me up. Now he draggeth me to hell. Wilt thou prevent him? On my honor, my friend, answered Zarathustra, there is nothing of all that whereof thou speakest. There is no devil and no hell. Thy soul will be dead even sooner than thy body. Fear, therefore, nothing any more. The man looked up distrustfully. "If thou speakest the truth," said he, "I lose nothing when I lose my life. I am not much more than an animal which hath been taught to dance by blows and scanty fare." "Not at all," said Zarathustra. "Thou hast made danger thy calling. Therein there is nothing contemptible. Now thou perished by thy calling, therefore I will bury thee with mine own hands." And when Zarathustra had said this, the dying one did not reply further, but he moved his hand as if he sought the hand of Zarathustra in gratitude. Meanwhile, the evening came on, and the marketplace veiled itself in gloom. Then the people dispersed, for even curiosity and terror became fatigued. Zarathustra, however, still sat beside the dead man on the ground, absorbed in thought. So he forgot the time. But at last it became night, and a cold wind blew upon the lonely one. Then arose Zarathustra, and said to his heart, "Verily, a fine catch of fish hath Zarathustra made today. It is not a man he hath caught, but a corpse. Sombre is human life, and yet without meaning a buffoon may be faithful to it. I want to teach men the sense of their existence, which is the Superman, the lightning out of the dark cloud, man. But still I am far from them, and my sense speaketh not unto their sense. To men I am still something between a fool and a corpse. Gloomy in the night, gloomy are the ways of Zarathustra. Come, thou cold and stiff companion, I carry thee to the place where I shall bury thee with my own hands." When Zarathustra had said this to his heart, he put the corpse upon his shoulder and set out on his way. Yet he had not gone 100 steps, when there stole a man up to him and whispered in his ear. And lo, he that spake was the buffoon from the tower. "Leave this town, O Zarathustra," said he. "There are too many here who hate thee. The good and just hate thee, and call thee their enemy and despiser. The believers in the orthodox belief hate thee, and call thee a danger to the multitude. It was thy good fortune to be laughed at, and verily thou speakest like a buffoon. It was thy good fortune to associate with a dead dog by so humiliating thyself that thou hast saved thy life today. Depart, however, from this town, or tomorrow I shall jump over thee, a living man over a dead one." And when he had said this, the buffoon vanished. Zarathustra, however, went on through the dark streets. At the gate of the town the gravediggers met him. They shone their torch in his face, and recognizing Zarathustra, they sorely derided him. "Zarathustra is carrying away the dead dog. A fine thing that Zarathustra has turned a gravedigger. For our hands are too cleanly for that roast. Will Zarathustra steal the bite from the devil? Well then, good luck to the repast. If only the devil is not a better thief than Zarathustra, he will steal them both, he will eat them both." And they laughed among themselves, and put their heads together. Zarathustra made no answer thereto, but went on his way. When he had gone on for 2 hours, past forest and swamps, he had heard too much of the hungry howling of the wolves, and he himself became a hungry. So he halted at a lonely house in which a light was burning. "Hunger attacketh me," said Zarathustra, "like a robber. Among forest and swamps my hunger attacketh me, and late in the night. Strange humours hath my hunger. Often it cometh to me only after a repast, and all day it hath failed to come. Where hath it been?" And thereupon Zarathustra knocked at the door of the house, and an old man appeared, who carried a light, and asked, "Who cometh unto me in my bad sleep?" "A living man and a dead one," said Zarathustra. "Give me something to eat and drink. I forgot it during the day. He that feedeth the hungry refresheth his own soul, saith wisdom." The old man withdrew, but came back immediately, and offered Zarathustra bread and wine. "A bad country for the hungry," said he. "That is why I live here. Animal and man come unto me, the anchorite. But bid thy companion eat and drink also. He is wearier than thou." And Zarathustra answered, "My companion is dead. I shall hardly be able to persuade him to eat." That do not concern me, said the old man sullenly. He that knocketh at my door must take what I offer him, eat, and fare ye well. Thereafter Zarathustra again went on for 2 hours, trusting to the path and the light of the stars, for he was an experienced night walker, and liked to look into the face of all that slept. When the morning dawned, however, Zarathustra found himself in a thick forest, and no path was any longer visible. He then put the dead man in a hollow tree at his head, for he wanted to protect him from the wolves, and laid himself down on the ground in moss, and immediately he fell asleep, tired in body, but with a tranquil soul. Long slept Zarathustra, and not only the rosy dawn passed over his head, but also the morning. At last, however, his eyes opened, and amazedly he gazed into the forest and the stillness. Amazedly he gazed into himself. Then he rose quickly like a seafarer, who all at once seeth the land. And he shouted for joy, for he saw a new truth. And he spake thus to his heart. A light hath dawned upon me. I need companions, living ones, not dead companions and corpses which I carry with me where I will. But I need living companions who will follow me because they want to follow themselves, and to the place where I will. A light hath dawned upon me, not to the people as Zarathustra to speak, but to companions. Zarathustra shall not be the herdsman and hound. To allure many from the herd, for that purpose have I come. The people and the herd must be angry with me. A robber shall Zarathustra be called by the herdsmen. Herdsmen, I say, but they call themselves the good and just. Herdsmen, I say, but they call themselves the believers in the orthodox belief. Behold, the good and just, whom do they hate most? Him who breaketh up their tables of values, the breaker, the lawbreaker. He, however, is the Creator. Behold, the believers of all beliefs, whom do they hate most? Him who breaketh up their table of values, the breaker, the lawbreaker. He, however, is the Creator. Companions the Creator seeketh, not corpses, and not herds or believers either. Fellow creators the Creator seeketh, those who grave new values on new tables. Companions the Creator seeketh, the fellow reapers. For everything is ripe for the harvest with him, but he lacketh the 100 sickles, so he plucketh the ears of corn and is vexed. Companions the Creator seeketh, and such as would know how to whet their sickles. Destroyers will they be called, and despisers of good and evil, but they are the reapers and rejoicers. Fellow creators Zarathustra seeketh, fellow reapers and fellow rejoicers. Zarathustra seeketh. What hath he to do with herds and herdsmen and corpses? And thou, my first companion, rest in peace. Well have I buried thee in thy hollow tree, well have I hid thee from the wolves. But I part from thee. The time hath arrived twixt rosy dawn and rosy dawn there came unto me a new truth. I am not to be a herdsman. I am not to be a grave digger. Not any more will I discourse unto the people. For the last time have I spoken unto the dead. With the creators, the reapers, and the rejoicers will I associate. The rainbow will I show them, and all the stairs to the Superman. The rainbow being significant for the number 7 and for the overlay of the 7 chakras. It is possible to get to the edge of enlightenment and not quite make it all of the way, and this again is another one of those indicators, right? He is talking about taking away from the eternal and placing the importance upon the now. Not necessarily that there isn't an eternal, although he does state that there isn't, but more that to take the focus away from live your life here in this manner so that you shall be rewarded, and instead to turn your life to the good here and now so that it is good here and now, and so that you improve things around you. We talked yesterday in the last video about the loneliness of the search, right? if you are truly seeking to do correctly, not necessarily what a religion says is correct, but what is told to you in your heart is the correct thing, then you almost certainly will lose everyone around you. Almost certainly, they will not be willing to take the journey with you. And that is where the dark journey of the soul really begins, because you walking alone through the dark with the dead body that you have to hide in the tree. This is a great allegory for beginning the journey of the soul, right? He came down from his reflections and attempted to preach, to show people the thing that I have found. If I tell you about it, surely it is enough for me to tell you how much better it is this way. But it's not. You cannot explain experience. You can tell people, that's what I do. I tell you the things that I know, but you don't have to believe me. I hope that you take what I say and take the tools that I give you in these various playlists and use them to get the experience that I have had. That is the goal. I'm not here to convince you of the things that I say. I am here to say the things that I know. It is the same feeling that I am getting from this, right? From this text, it appears that he attempted to tell people, hey, look, I had this experience. And everybody's like, so what? You're joking, right? You want me to stop doing this thing that I love very much? I lost my train of thought earlier when I was talking about it, but the exclusion is every bit as much a vice as the acceptance. What do you mean? Take, for instance, drinking, right? If you are drinking all day long, and it is your life, it is the thing that you aspire to do from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, then you are consumed by the vice, right? But if you are abstaining and you absolutely vehemently just cannot possibly take a sip of alcohol, well, then you are over-consuming of the virtue. And life is meant to be the median in the middle. Not necessarily right in the middle, but maybe a little bit to this side and maybe a little bit to this side. But the goal is to use the alcohol in a manner that is not trying to mask all of the things and to hide all of the things, but in a celebratory way, because it makes you feel good. Right? It doesn't tomorrow, but it does today. And in moderation, even tomorrow is not that bad with it. The point is to learn the moderation, to learn the median in the middle, not to succumb to overtaking either of the virtue or the vice. That is where Nietzsche messed up. He was trying to overtake from the virtue and to live in chastity and to live in humility and the seven virtues as opposed to the seven vices. But life is the median. Life is learning to balance all of the things, not to be attracted to either Boaz or Jachin, but instead to walk through the middle of the two pillars of life. That is where Nietzsche messed up, in my estimation, from what I am reading from this. And so he's like, I'm just going to talk to like-minded people, and there is definitely an allure to that. I can tell you, because I have a lot of non-conventional beliefs. If you don't know what I mean, I do have several playlists where I talk about them. It is very much surrounded by people and being quite lonely, but I am okay with it because I know the thing that he didn't. I achieved that last step where I see the plan, I see how it works, and so I am okay. He didn't have that, so he got severely discouraged. He got to 7 and he didn't quite make it to 8. All right. With the creators, the reapers, will the rejoicers will I associate. The rainbow will I show them. And all the stairs to the Superman. To the lone dwellers will I sing my song, and to the twain dwellers, and unto him who hath still ears for the unheard, will I make the heart heavy with my happiness. I make for my goal, I follow my course. Over the loitering and the tardy will I leap. Thus let my ongoing be their downgoing. This had Zarathustra said to his heart when the sun stood at noontide. Then he looked inquiringly aloft, for he heard above him the sharp call of a bird. And behold, an eagle swept through the air in wide circles, and on it hung a serpent, not like a prey, but like a friend, for it kept itself coiled round the eagle's neck. They are mine animals, said Zarathustra, and rejoiced in his heart. The proudest animal under the sun, and the wisest animal under the sun, they have come out to reconnoiter. They want to know whether Zarathustra still liveth. Verily, do I still live? More dangerous have I found it among men than among animals. In dangerous paths goeth Zarathustra. Let mine animals lead me. And when Zarathustra had said this, he remembered the words of the saint in the forest. Then he sighed and spake thus to his heart. Would that I were wiser. Would that I were wise from the very heart, like my serpent. But I am asking the impossible. Therefore do I ask my pride to go away with my wisdom. And if my wisdom should some day forsake me, alas, it loveth to fly away. May my pride then fly with my folly. And thus began Zarathustra's downgoing. And we will save that for tomorrow. This was an interesting discourse, and again, I am fully convinced that he got right to the edge of enlightenment. And I know it sounds awfully judgy to say that, but through the lens of experience, I can, right? I really can. I can see this. I can see how close he was to the actual truth. Now, I knew going in some things. I assumed that I knew other things, but I'm always willing to be corrected as I go along. And if I see something that I have the key for, I am going to give you the keys, right? The key to not being depressed. The keys to enlightenment are coming, right? We are dealing with that in other playlists. Not necessarily this one. I did not expect this in here at all. I was fully expecting this to be random philosophy talking about grand scope of things, not necessarily path to enlightenment stuff. I was not expecting that or anything along those natures. So this is enlightening to me, right? This is what we're doing though. We're trying to become even more enlightened. I have reached a level. I know it sounds prideful to say that, but trust me when I tell you it is not. You don't have to believe me. I am saying it so that you can understand that when I give you keys, it is keys that I have used. I am never going to give you something and say that this is a key and it not work, at least for me. It may not work for you. I don't know. I am not you. It could be that I'm left-handed and that makes all the difference in the world. It could be that I have heterochromality, which is two different colors of the eyes. That could make all the difference in the world. I don't know. I have those things, so I assume that it works for everyone. But I am going to give you just as many keys as I possibly can to enlightenment. I have already begun that in these other playlists. I was not expecting to do that in the philosophy playlist, I promise you. Enlightenment has been a key piece in several different key figures through history, and we're not going to dive into the religious aspects of that, but the missing of enlightenment is just as evident. When I tell you that depression gets removed from you and anxiety gets removed from you, that is a very real thing after you have awakened the full stack. Once you have gone through the process and dealt with your things, the old stuff does not bother you, so depression really goes out of the door. And the new stuff is a challenge for you. It is a lesson for you. And so regardless of what comes, and you might get anxious over what's coming, you don't live in a state of anxiety because you know it's going to work out. It sounds really easy to say that, but it's much easier to live that. I have been an example of that for a while now, and Again, it sounds awful heady to say that, but I say it so I can give the keys away. I don't want to hold on to keys. I want to find the companions. Right? That's what finding the crew is about. There are almost 4,000 crew members, and out of that, we've got 40 really solid people who are seeking enlightenment. Roughly. I can see it in the analytics. I have 40 out of 4,000. That's 10%. I got my numbers right. It's either 1% or 10%. It's whatever. I'm not doing the math. But regardless, that's a harvest. That's what I am here for. I'm not here for the 3,600 or 3,940 other ones, 60 other ones. It's those 40. That's who I'm here for. I'm here for everyone. I wish, hope, and pray that everyone picks up on the knowledge that I'm dropping, but that is not going to happen. The channel is open for everyone, but it is not for everyone. You have to be seeking keys to get this far in this video, to listen to my warbly voice, read you something, and talk about what I have found in it. You have to be seeking something for that to happen, and that's the people I am here for. I am dropping keys like it's Rice Krispie treats, right? Go and get you some. Hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion and maybe a little bit of levity to some very complicated topics. I know that I hold some unconventional beliefs and that I tend to step on toes when I am relaying those. It is not intentional, but I do not apologize for it. I am merely doing what I have been called to do. I am merely seeking my companions. I want as many people who want to be the best. That is not living according to this religious doctrine or that religious doctrine. It is the people who are trying to be their best self. However that may play out to be. I want you to fully succeed in your life. I want you to be fully empowered in taking control of your timeline. Hopefully that is what I am doing. If you like what I'm doing here, let me know down below. Give me a like, share, and a sub. Throw me a comment. If you agree or disagree, as long as it stays respectful, it gets to stay up. If you really like what I'm doing, hit me with that super thanks. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete, just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt's Take. Peace.